How's it going?
Everything is good. How are you?
Very well, very well.
Very good. And let's talk. And before we start talking about Bloom, your latest record, you girls just played a US tour. How did those shows go for you?
It was excellent. It was honestly one of the most fun tours I've ever been on. So these shows were really amazing, and it was really great to be able to take these songs out on the road for the first time and kind of see how they impact audiences.
And Rebecca, you enjoyed the tour as well?
I did. It's nice to be able, after having held a record for so long to yourself, to finally share it with people. That, of course, is our driving motivation in making music, is seeking that human connection. And it was really, really special. We got to play some super iconic venues, the greatest of which being the Ryman in Nashville, Tennessee. To be able to headline that venue is just such an unbelievable dream come true. So all around, it was a pretty fabulous experience, and we cannot wait to bring this tour to Europe in just a few months.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And for the fans here in Portugal, you are playing on November 12th at the Coliseum here in Lisbon. What can they expect from Larkin Poe? I mean, some already seen you play last year at another live festival, but now with a new album, probably a new stage setup, what can fans expect from that live show in November?
Festivals are so fun because you just want to have a high energy, high impact set. It's, just an hour usually of burners, but we can really stretch out in our headline shows and do some things that are a little bit different, because we represent a lot of genres. We have a lot of roots background. So in our shows, we're able to break it down at some points and kind of bring our influence into the set of music, having like an acoustic part of the set and drawing some of those influences back into our music while still maintaining that fun, energetic atmosphere that you get at a festival. We definitely like to part a few hairs and play it loud and just let people kind of forget their troubles for a minute. That's really what we want for our shows, is to have people be able to come together to connect with other humans in a really fun way.
Cool. And Rebecca, do you prefer, those headline shows, more intimate venues or festivals?
I like them both. I don't know that I could pick one over the other, because they are so very different and they give us different energy. Being able to be out on a festival circuit is really special because we're also able to see a lot of other artists, which I think drives that inspiration. And there's this sense of community that's really exciting. But I do think being able to have a headline show where there is more under your power as an artist to create a setting for your fans. We put a lot of energy into our backdrop and our lighting show and all these different elements that come together to really put people in the Larkin Poe universe. So in that way, it's a totally different experience and still really wonderful. That being said, because we have just had this experience in the US of such a successful headline tour, I do feel particularly jazzed about bringing this show to Europe, because I think it's a really good show. We worked really hard to get all of these songs together in a cohesive way. And I am excited for people in Europe and Portugal to hear this particular Larkin Poe show.
Cool. And you come from a Grammy Award-winning record to Bloom. Was there much pressure after you getting the Grammy? I mean, it's probably one of the biggest awards in music you can get, and recognition for for an artist. So did that put any pressure in the making of the songs, or it was another day in the office?
I think if anything, it gave us a little boost. It put a little wind beneath our wings. I think it gave this sort of a stamp of approval that says we're on the right path. But also, we had written quite a lot of the songs for Bloom by the time we went to the Grammys to win. So when we came back home after winning the Grammy, we wrote a little bit more, but honestly, we went pretty much straight into the studio and started recording. And I think it was a cool moment to be able to go in the studio after winning that award, because we were just full of confidence. I think, if anything, it's a pressure relief, because it's kind of like a little bit of a box you've ticked, like, oh, we did this. It was an amazing experience. It's something that not a lot of people get to experience, and we feel so like lucky and overjoyed to have won that award. But at the same time, it's like it's a bucket list sort of item that you can say, okay, and now I can kind of do whatever. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Do you feel validation, or do you felt validation after getting that Grammy, in the sense that you've been doing this for a long time, since you were teenagers, playing music? And I mean, it doesn't get any bigger. I probably, I'm not a musician. I used to play guitar. I sucked at it and I gave up. I decided to just, interview bands and artists because it's something that I love. But probably if I did win a Grammy, I probably would just stop. I cannot get any higher than this. Can you?
It's cool as well, because I think we have the experience of being in our early 30s and already having a very long-standing career. Because like you said, we started when we were very young. We started touring when we were 15, 16 years old. So we've always considered ourselves, first and foremost, a live band. We love making records, and I think clearly that is the foundation. What drives everyone's connection to the art is the power of the song and the way that it sounds on a record and how you're able to connect with people. But by the same token, I think that we do have a very balanced view of who we are as artists, because being out on the road and being able to connect with people in this live space, it's such a huge part of our identity that while I do think winning the Grammy, like we're saying, it was such a huge deal. It was such a point of validation. I think particularly given that we are an independent band and we have our record label and we've never been like a part of the music industry. I'm using air quotes because that's just sort of our spirit. We've always had a very do-it-yourselfer energy. We've written our own songs, produced our own records, played everything ourselves. So in that way as well, for our team, it's only about, 15 or 20 people that are involved in Larkin Poe, that was such a success story for us and our team. But being able to tour, being able to sell tickets, especially in today's day and age in 2025, when it is so challenging and expensive for artists to get out on the road, especially bands of our ilk, bands that aren't necessarily getting a lot of radio play or aren't really selling a lot of popular culture. We're selling music. We're not selling dance or pyro. We're selling music to people. And that feels incredibly validating as well, to be able to get out on the road and connect with people in this way. So in that spirit, I think it really keeps us grounded and it keeps us moving towards the experience of doing it. It's never about an arrival. It's always about the journey. And that's very special.
And how does a band like us get a Grammy? Because we're definitely like a grassroots effort. And it really is every person that waited in line, drove from God knows, or flew from God knows where to come to one of our shows and waited in line and then stood in front of the stage on a hard concrete floor and waited and then was like super energetic and spread the word. Like that's actually how we got the award. So the true award is seeing that individual put in the effort that it takes to support music.
Yeah. And, you end up setting a great example, and for, upcoming bands or artists, that you actually don't need a label behind you to be successful. If you put I keep saying this to bands, friends of mine, you just need to put work into it and good things will come out of it. It might take more time than you expect, but eventually you'll get there if you put the effort and you put the work. And like Larkin Poe, it's an example of that. You put the effort, now you're getting all the juicy fruits out of the effort that you put into like working hard for all these years. It's a great, I mean, not to put more pressure on you, but it's a great example that you are setting up for, upcoming bands, that you can be successful if you put to work and if you're good at it, obviously.
I sure hope so. And I know that there's a lot of fortune and luck that also goes into being in the right place at the right time that none of us can take credit for. And sometimes life is unfair, and that sucks for a lot of artists, especially when some of my favorite bands never won a Grammy. Some of my favorite bands can no longer afford to get out on the road. And that's also just sort of the luck of the draw, this crazy life experience. But again, I do think that Megan and I advocate so strongly for artists being able to make records on their own terms, because at the end of the day, so long as you love the work that you've done, that's the success story. If you can hang your hat on the songs that you've written and the records that you've made and the shows that you put on, if you know that you did your best, that is truly all that matters in the end. And that is very, I mean, it's easier for us to say that because at this point we were able to win a Grammy, and what a great gift. But it is true that if you love your work, that's like priority number one. That is it. That's all that really matters.
Yeah. And, let's talk about Bloom. How does normally the songwriting process work with you? I mean, listen to the record, it's a great journey that you bring us on this album. How does the songwriting work, in the sense, how do you feel that that song, that riff, that melody, it's going to work?
We're entering a new frontier of songwriting for Rebecca and I, because historically speaking, we've struggled to write together as sisters. It requires a very certain kind of intimacy to write a song that we were always challenged by. But when we went to write for Bloom, we really wanted to write these songs together from the ground up, because we've done a lot of writing together, of course. But typically we would start the song separately, or there would be a riff or an idea that had already been created, and then we would create from that seed of an idea. Whereas this time we really wanted to create the seed together. That was different this time. And we did it pretty well. Like some of the songs were written separately, but most of the songs were written either the two of us sitting on this couch writing, or writing together also with Rebecca's husband, Tyler Bryant, who also co-produced the record. So it was either the two or the three of us creating together. And that was very special. It was a very, very special process, and one that I'm excited to see where it leads, because this is new. Another thing that was different in the writing process this time around was we really wrote from the lyrics first, as opposed to the music. A lot of times we're very musically driven. We would start from a riff. We would get the music going first, and then the lyrics would kind of match the music. Whereas this time around, we were having really deep conversations with each other that would typically lead to the idea for the song, and we would come up with a lyrical idea, and we would just write with like acoustic guitar. We were not, falling into some of the same trappings that we have in the past, where we might lean on production.
She froze.
No.
The internet.
So hard. Let me text her.
Hopefully she'll be back.
Hopefully she'll be back. But yeah, to pick up on what she was just saying, being able to let the lyric guide the melody and the riffs was really, I think, a big shift creatively for us with Bloom. I think people are able to hear a lot more of where we are as humans in our development, what we're talking about, what we're thinking about through these songs. And I think it took a little bit more courage for us to try that approach. I think some artists from the very beginning have a lot of comfort level in being very vulnerable with their songwriting and allowing their Oh, you're back. Hey, you froze. We were like, oh no, where did you go?
I don't know.
Allowing
I don't know
themselves.
how long I was talking.
It was all good. It's all good. You paused at a very good spot. I was literally picking up where you left off and allowing themselves to be seen, a lot of artists. But I think it's taken Larkin Poe a little bit more time to peel away some of the armor and to really let people into the juiciest part of our hearts. And I am very proud. And as Megan said, I'm excited to see where this train of thought continues to lead us into the future for the next record as well.
And it's curious you mentioned writing the lyrics first and then the music. So for you, it was like, to see what the emotion was in the lyrics to create the painting with the music, so to say. Was that the goal in the sense to see what kind of emotion we are trying to bring with the lyrics, and then the music will just paint the rest of it? Like, in a sense, like making a movie, you write a script, and then you have to create the rest around it. Was that kind of basically the idea in a sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great analogy. And it's interesting as well because in the genre of blues rock, I do think oftentimes the music is at the center. And because the music of blues, the pentatonic scale, it's very tough, it's rockin'. I think that that typically guides a lot of the lyrics to sort of exist within that vein of a bulletproof character, someone who's swaggy and emotionally unavailable and kicking ass and taking names. When in reality, I think being able to allow more of the humanity of, what you're thinking, what you're feeling to be woven into the story of the blues, because historically that is what drove the blues. The human experience is what drove the entire genre. It was an expression of the human soul. So I think in a lot of ways, blues has sort of gotten contorted over the years into being something that can get a little bit stuck in itself. So I do think for Megan and myself, having grown up loving the traditions of American music, loving the blues, it feels very important to us to continue to breathe that life. And especially because at this point in time, we are still somewhat of an anomaly in the blues as a female fronted blues artist. It's so refreshing to see Samantha Fish and Susan Tedeschi and Bonnie Raitt and all these artists who have done the great work of breathing life into the blues with a female perspective. And I think that we want to continue that good work of making sure that our blues music is representative of the people who are making the music, not just falling into tropes or stereotypes of what we think blues should be.
Yeah, for me, music, it's all about emotion and connecting with what the artist is saying. I know a lot of men have problems, showing their emotions. I like a good cry once in a while.
Yes.
And I see sometimes when, just people are afraid of showing their emotions. I don't know why. It's part of us. It's a good, and connecting. I love, stuff like Deep Purple, let's say, like the harder edge of rock, Led Zeppelin, Dio for, all the dragons and whatever imaginary. But I like real stories, and I like to connect on that personal side with an artist. And I think a lot of bands are kind of missing that. And with Bloom, I kind of felt that connection with, with the lyrics and the music in that sense. I felt, driving the car, listening to the music, I felt relaxed. And I was like, okay, this is something that it's talking to me. And for me, that's all that matters when it comes to music. I don't care, with what kind of what genre it is. For me, it's an open slate when it comes to music. If I like it, I like it. I'm not stereotypical anymore. I just want my heavy metal. I love it, but there's so much more in music to appreciate. And like with Larkin Poe, for me, like when I saw you girls last year, it was just an amazing experience live. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get the records. I'm going to listen to the music. And here we are now, and in November we'll see you again in Lisbon.
Yeah, that means the world to us. Thank you for saying that because we feel similarly. Yeah. Doesn't matter the genre. If it's speaking to your heart, you got to listen. Thank you. I'm glad that our music spoke to you enough.
And Rebecca, let's talk about a bit. You talked about Tyler Bryant. I talked with Tyler when he played with Guns N' Roses here in Lisbon. I was actually the only person that was talking to Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown that day. How can you, when you're writing now, like when you're writing for Bloom, how can you take the personal side with the artist side? Is it difficult to separate both?
I think that that is the strength of being able to collaborate creatively with people that you deeply love because you don't have to separate it. I think especially because Megan and I have been making music together for so long and our relationship is outside of my marriage and probably in a lot of ways even before my marriage one of the most important relationships in my life, our sister bond, the depth to which we know each other, the trust that is there, the baggage that exists, the baggage that we've let go, all of that stuff allows us, I think, to communicate in a way that really betters our art because we're real with each other. And that I think is so strong in my relationship with Tyler, our musical connection. That's how we fell in love, was realizing that he and I both had such an overlap in the music that we loved. Like both of our favorite artists is Chris Whitley, a Houston-based blues artist. And from that point on, he and I were just like two peas in a pod. And being able to bring that admiration and that love into the creative space, and to also see the admiration and love that exists between Megan and Tyler as well as brother and sister-in-law, it's very moving. And I think it allows us this basis of trust in the studio that I think we're able to talk about stuff that we would maybe be a bit more challenged to talk about with an outside producer or an outside songwriter. So I love being able to make music with family.
You mentioned enjoying a good cry. I can't tell you how many tears were wept in the studio. It's like the floodgates just open. It's like it's not a good record unless somebody's cried a couple of times at least. But yeah, I have to say Rebecca is a very strong person to go into a working relationship with not only her sister but her husband. Wow. So if there's an argument happening somewhere, Rebecca's involved. But really, honestly, the three of us are just kindred spirits, and I feel like I'm never so happy as when I'm in the middle of making a record with them. It's a really, really special experience. It's wonderful to be able to work so closely with family and have that special relationship, be able to go out in the world in the form of music.
Cool. And Motherhood is on the way. I was seeing Tyler's Instagram, baby boy, congratulations. Are you already thinking, are you going to juggle motherhood with a musical career? Because the first few months might be normally for a mother it's a bit more difficult. Are you thinking about any of that, or are you just going with the flow?
I am thinking about it, and I'm going with the flow because I know that every person's experience is unique and we don't know what's coming down the pipeline. We're very excited to meet him. He's already played, 40 some odd shows, 50 some odd shows, and he hasn't even been born yet. So the little guy is already a trooper, and I know that we're going to do our best to like in the same way we just said, to not separate things out. Yeah. Because I don't think that you have to separate your family from your career. And I really do want to be able to do what I love and to show my son like what it looks like to be in a line of work that you're truly passionate about. And I hope that that doesn't come at the cost of him assuming that he has to also do what both mom and dad do. That's something that I'm thinking about probably the most, is because both Tyler and I are musicians. I think it's going to be very easy for people, and maybe for him also, to assume that that's what he should do, which I don't think is the case. I think everyone should be allowed. You said blank slate earlier, and like being able to have a blank slate for him to pursue his own interests, I think will be very important. But music is clearly such a huge part of our lives. So inevitably he is going to get mixed into that pot. And 2 months in, he's going to be getting his passport. He's going to be coming to Europe, and he's going to be playing shows with mom and dad and Auntie Meg. So good luck, little dude.
And Megan, you excited for, for this addition to the family?
I'm so excited. I'm very ready for him to be here, because I've been able to kind of feel him, on Rebecca's stomach. I've been able to feel him a little bit, and I've been talking to him a little bit. But I just want to be able to hold him now. It's like, it's my turn.
And, I have some nephews and nieces. And one thing that I say about being an uncle, it's we're here to spoil them. Mm-hmm. The parents,
absolutely.
The parents give the education. It's not my part in that way. I'm here to spoil them. They can come to uncle and, say whatever they want to say. I'll be there to support them. And then the rest is the parents' problem, not mine.
Come on, baby boy, whatever you want.
And, just to wrap it up, I was on Wikipedia just reading a bit, and Larkin Poe comes from your great grandfather was a cousin of Edgar Allan Poe. Is that factually correct?
It is.
It's our understanding. We have a family genealogist who tracked it back, and so we're pretty distant cousins.
Yeah.
But we'll claim it. We do feel like some of that dark energy has definitely trickled down, I think, through our family line.
Yeah, it's cool to tell stories. And again, I think because we are sisters, being able to have a band name that represents family is, of course, that's always at the center for us. And every choice that we make, as a band revolves around our sister connection. It revolves around working, with Tyler, working with Megan's husband, who is an amazing musician, bringing our child on the road. It's always at the core. And so being able to have that spirit in the band name was actually, because we were 19 or 20 when we picked the band name, and we didn't know how significant that choice would be. I think we thought we did, but we didn't really. But now in our early 30s, I'm very proud of us for having that wisdom of keeping family at the center.
Cool. And to wrap it up, after this European tour, obviously you'll have to make music. You're always making music. Are you already thinking about new music? Are you going to focus on touring first, family, and then maybe music again?
I'm already thinking about it. We were at a Rodney Crowell show last night, who's an incredible songwriter. So we got to be outdoors in this beautiful place in Nashville, Tennessee, watching Rodney play. And I was sitting on the picnic blanket, thinking, okay, that's an idea for a song. Oh, what if maybe we could take that idea and do something with it? And I think in the month of, I don't know, maybe if Rebecca's feeling good in the next few months, we could do some writing in preparation for making the next record, because I don't know, I feel like it's time.
I agree. We've already had so much experience since writing Bloom. Such a gift to be able to live these wild lives and just experience getting older and just all the good stuff. There's a lot to write about. If you're paying attention, your life is passing you by, and it's good to document it. So I am very excited about writing this next record, but also the tour comes first. We are excited about the tour and being able to
tour first
with people as well. So it's going to be, I think, to answer your question, it's going to be all of it all the time. That's what Larkin Poe does.
And maybe for the first time, write a lullaby.
Yes. See, great idea.
You know, why not as a bonus track or something for an upcoming record, just a lullaby.
That is a really great idea.
Writing it down.
Perfect. Thank you. This is so sweet to talk with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Rebecca, Megan, thank you very much for your time. All the best for the upcoming tour and for the Motherhood, Rebecca. You know, everything goes well, and very much looking forward to see you on November 12th in Lisbon. It's going to be a great night, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to see you girls again. So
we can't wait to see you. Mwah. Lots
right.
of
Have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.